Welcome. Welcome to the October 2nd, 2023 meeting of the Yarmouth Board of Health. I'm Hillard Bosky, one of the members of the board. We'll just start with attendance here. Charlie, are you present?
Yeah.
Thank you. Good. Mary?
Present.
Eric?
Present.
Dr. Denizia is not going to be here. Okay. So we obviously meet quorum. And let's see, there's some housekeeping here. There's once again the statement I need to read, and that is this is a hybrid participation meeting, Zoom or attend at Town Hall. This is to formally advise that as required by GL Chapter 30A 18-25 and pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency signed into law on June 16, 2021, is extended by Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023. The Yarmouth Board of Health will hold a public meeting on Monday, April 24th, which is out of date here. This public is welcome to attend either in person or via the alternative public access provided below. And basically, specific information such as instructions and guidelines for remote by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town website at www.yarmouth.ma.us. Once again, it's www.yarmouth.ma.us. Okay, with that done, the first item, as usual, is public comment. If there's someone here in the room or is listening in, I guess any subject other than tobacco regulations, why don't we go about it that way, since we do, our second item is about the tobacco regulations. So anybody out there? Any hands we see? We see anybody? I don't see any either. Okay, done. Number 2, the discussion restricting the sale of tobacco products regulation. And that's for the draft. This is something we started and we continue to trying to put this together. I know that Sarah's back. That's Sarah McColgan, and your title is Tobacco Control Director. Thank you for coming back again and see if we can move this along. It's a lot of details. And I think you're going to take us through it page by page again. I know there's some issues that we certainly did not complete last time. I need to mention that we received 3 letters from stores with tobacco licenses, and unfortunately they just came in. The board has not seen them. It's quite obvious that someone spent they all spent a lot of time. They're very detail oriented. And my feeling, unless someone on the board objects, is that we don't start with this. We need to study this a little bit over the course, well, until our next meeting, which is on October 16th. Do people feel this has to be read into the record or not? So I'm happy to have volunteers if you feel it's correct just to read into the record, or just accept that they're here, and hopefully, which I'm sure they will be, these individuals or representative for them will be at the next meeting, and we'd be prepared to discuss that. So what board members, how would you like to proceed with that? You want them read into the record, or it's not necessary? It's up to you. Okay, don't jump at it all at once.
I think, just say for the record, as you said, we received 3 letters.
Okay.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Some time.
Are you okay there? You object to doing it that way?
I think there's way too many regulations already. I'm just sitting here listening.
Okay, well, we certainly want your input on this. So let's move on then and continue with our discussion of the regulations. Yeah, Jay, what's up?
Mr. Chairman, if I could, before Sarah begins and walks you through this, the board spent about 2 hours at our last meeting going over this very diligently, line by line. There was this been a significant amount of frustration in that we've been working off three different sets of sheet music and it has been made difficult. I met with Sarah about an hour ago, and I think you're going to see that there is still some deliberation and some things that need to be done and put in here. But it became confusing earlier this week, and I sent the board a notes. And I'm sure it was difficult on your end without the benefit of having talked to Sarah and seeing all the different versions that have come through here. But I think we have a product that I apologize for the confusion, but I do feel that you have something with some help with Sarah bringing you through this, and she can articulate all the different edits or deliberations that still need to be done. And I don't think what you did last or several weeks ago of going through and really editing and refining things, that was not a waste. It was not a waste, and she will walk you through that. And one small piece was, and one of the confusions was even page numbers were different last time. It was because we changed the font, so it was easier to read. So that increased the number of pages. It's easier to say that there's a lot of confusion for the board as they're trying to make regulations. I apologize for that. I think we have this back on track, and I think you're going to hear that tonight from Sarah.
Yeah, so the more we can complete, the easier it will be at the next meeting. Obviously, there may be, with the letters that we received, there may be some edits we're gonna want to make or not, but so let's go page by page and see if you can help us out. I appreciate you coming in.
I appreciate having the opportunity, and hopefully what we talk about tonight will clarify things. Rather than going page by page, we'll go section by section. And when I talk about a certain section, I'll, give you the label of that section, since your pages may have different page numbers on them still than mine. So we will do that.
Okay.
The statement of purpose.
I don't believe they would. Erica, as you copied these, they all should be aligning. There's no changing of the font. Everything should align up exactly.
So what I'm looking at mine, Erica, is that the first page for some reason says 0 on it. Does that say that on yours? Okay, so I'd still like to go section by section then, because I think my pages may be off. So the statement of purpose is very similar to what is in your existing regulations. However, there've been some minor revisions and updating, things like that going through. Some new things have been added in because we felt that it was important to address them in light of the changing retail environment. When you get to section C, which is maybe on page
Let's
3.
slow up for a second. Does anyone have any comments about this statement of purpose? Let's take a section at a time. I'll make the first point, which I may have made it or not, that just about some of the information on it is sort of out of date, I think, a little bit. That really could be updated.
This is the most updated information that we've been able to find
Yeah,
on things. It was, these were recently looked into, probably December, January, and updated at that point on things. Did you have anything specifically that you'd like?
not that would prevent us from moving forward. I'm just looking at the dates of things that are listed here and so on, just literature and so on, but not essential for tonight. I'm just making a comment about it. Perhaps next time.
I will make that note.
Yeah, that's all. We're looking at that again.
It does take a while for these studies to get published.
Yeah, I mean, we have the CDC 2009. So, I mean, that's all. I'm just saying, okay, nothing that should affect what we're doing tonight.
And then obviously Board of Health Authority is still the same. I'm seeing city and town still in there, and I need to put in the word Yarmouth. Sorry about that.
Are you, the town, it's not listed here under authority, it is.
Health Authority, so are we still not operating on the same one?
It says on ours, will authority granted to the Yarmouth Board of Health.
Yeah, the town is there. The word,
Granted to the, does
Yarmouth
it say
Board of Health.
Yarmouth?
yeah,
It says Yarmouth Board of Health.
Doesn't on my copy.
Would you like my copy?
Please give her.
I would love to be working off the same copy. Yeah. So you updated it in your office. Okay.
Uh-huh.
That was just an error on my part. That's all right. So now I'll be working on 3 different sheets.
That is helpful. We're gonna, we
Get
all
it.
have to have consistency.
No,
here.
we'll get it. It'll be fine.
Good.
So, moving on, we get into the definitions section, C, definitions, section C. And your previous regulations did not have the first definition that you see in front of you, adult only retail tobacco store. What your previous definitions had was a retail tobacco store. And this is an expanded definition and one of the state definitions that has been added into the new state regulations. There is some room in there for Board of Health discretion. And it's the sentence that says on the second line of the definition, the sentence that reads in part, that has a separate entrance not used by any other retailer that does not sell food, beverages, or alcohol. And that's, again, up to the board's discretion on that sentence only, or that partial sentence.
That's for an adult only.
That's for an adult-only store and does not include a convenience type store.
We don't have any
Okay.
adult only stores in Yarmouth, correct?
Right.
And moving on, the next highlighted on cigars, there's a highlight
Can we
there.
back,
that
back up one second?
indicated
I
you
had a
wanted to-
question on an earlier item. Under definitions, for us, it's page 3. It's the first new item, that's blunt wrap.
Blunt wraps.
Right. A gentleman last meeting came forward and was saying, we look at that. In other words, things have changed since these regulations, which I think were 2018, and gave the example that marijuana has been legalized. And that should we change that regulation or not? And should there be a ban or not on them? I think one of the issues would be whether or not the material is flavored or not.
If it's
Um,
flavored, it's considered a flavored tobacco product enhancer.
Right. And
It would be banned.
right, and the other is the material has nicotine or not would be the other issue. But if they're just paper or some other non-nicotine containing, non-flavored substance, I'm not sure why we would need that regulation anymore. So I just need some input from the other board members.
It fits under the state law if it has nicotine or tobacco.
Right.
So
But I mean, I think I would assume maybe get that some of the paper used or whatever it is are not from the leaves of the plant. I mean, where can you go in town and buy rolling papers right now? I don't know the answer to anyone. We just want papers to roll some marijuana that you buy.
I think most of the retailers or convenience stores, and I suppose they may not have to have a tobacco sales permit to sell just rolling papers if they're non-tobacco containing.
That would be my guess, but I don't know if that's true.
they don't have to have a permit if they've got nothing else in the store. And that's what they're selling. They don't have to have a permit unless you put in the definition of rolling papers, which you'll see later on.
Right.
But right now, they don't have to have, it's not considered a tobacco product unless it's flavored.
And
If it's
this
flavored,
definition of
Then
blunt
again,
wrap,
it's banned by the state as a flavored tobacco product enhancer.
this definition of blunt wrap does say made wholly or in part from a tobacco product. Not going to be the wrapper like you're talking about.
So
Rolling papers is later on, you said there is something, the definition for rolling papers?
Yeah,
Yes,
what
there is.
refers to rolling papers later on is more,
What
more traditional
Right.
rolling papers, that we're used to. And again, it has here wraps or leaves,
Right.
that do not contain tobacco. The difference would be hemp wraps. If they are flavored, then again, they're a
Right.
flavored product enhancer.
Okay. Okay, let's see as we get to that. Great.
Okay, so that's something for you to, under the definition of adult only, that partial sentence that has a separate entrance not used by any other retailer that does not sell food, beverages, or alcohol is something that the board has discretion over. And you folks need to make a decision at some point on that.
Is that the decision we want to make right now?
Yes,
What do you want to
yeah.
do?
I'll just leave it in there.
Leave it in?
Well, I'm just one person. I need to say,
I'm fine with that.
Eric, you okay with that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat it?
The sentence the phrase that she said is up to us in terms
In what
of
section? Where are you?
Section C definition, the first one, adult only retail tobacco store.
Right.
The third. It has the second,
Separate entrance.
third line that has a separate entrance not used by any other retailer that does not sell food, beverages, or alcohol. And I move that we just leave that in.
That's fine with me.
So that's the second, let's say. Any discussion? None? Okay, all in favor? Just say aye.
Aye.
Charlie,
Excellent.
we're voting.
Or.
My motion was to leave in under section C definitions, the adult only retail tobacco store. The section on the third line that says that has a separate entrance not used by any other retailer that does not sell food, beverages, or alcohol. That does not, that was it. Alcohol, period.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay, great,
Thank
thank you.
Okay, then moving on in the definitions, healthcare institution. There is an area there that it's the last sentence. And it should start in bold, exempted from state law, but may be included in local regulations. A retail establishment that provides optician, optometric, hearing aid, or audiology services, but is not subject to regulation by the Board of Registration in Pharmacy shall not be considered a healthcare institution. So again, you have board discretion on that.
Well, let's decide now.
I make a motion that we leave that exemption in. If we find that eye doctors are doing it, we can always come back and say. Put it back in.
Okay,
That's my thought on it. So I move that we leave the exemption under healthcare institution that's in the gray section in our regulation.
we want to second that? Or maybe not.
I'm just trying to finish reading here.
Okay.
What's the importance of it, do you think?
I think I think that these are not folks that, well, they're not subject to the Board of Pharmacy, and they do not typically sell tobacco products. And if you said healthcare institution to me, I probably wouldn't have even thought of my optometrist personally. So, I mean, I just think that the exemption is fine. I don't think that. I don't care really. You can leave it in. Just in case they decide to start up another little sideline of business.
Eric, how do you feel about it? Did you have a question to ask?
Yeah, well, no, I'm just, like you said, I'm trying to just understand the significance of this and how it pertains to the big picture here of what we're doing.
I think Mary's correct in that those types of services generally would not be selling tobacco products.
Right. Yeah, I suppose I'm fine with it too. I'll second your motion.
Thank you. Okay, so my fault.
Anybody discussion? None? All right, let's vote. Eric, how do you vote?
I,
Mary? Aye. Charlie?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, let's move along.
Rolling papers, whether or not you want to add the definition of rolling papers. And by adding the definition, it would permit banning flavored, non-tobacco, non-nicotine wraps like hemp wraps.
But it says adding this definition will permit banning the flavor. Right. I roll that we leave, I move that we leave rolling papers definition in connected to the permission later on. I'm sure that is given.
I'm curious for our couple business owners. Is this something that folks are selling flavored rolling to papers?
If someone, yes, please come up, introduce yourself. And thank you for coming in.
Yeah, I'm Vishal Shukla, owner of Yarmouth Port Village store as well as the Station Avenue convenience store. So currently, we do not sell any flavor rolling paper at all in the store, which is when in 2018, when we banned the flavor permanently, we do not sell the rolling paper flavor at all. So I don't know, so we don't like, we do sell the rolling papers, but unflavored, but not the flavor.
Okay,
So we are not even selling those
Right.
at all.
Okay,
Jay, you look like you had something to say, you know? Oh, okay.
a second. Motion to leave this in rolling paper
Yeah,
definition.
second.
Okay, any other discussion
Can I
on
have
it?
one
Up,
question?
up, please.
So so the flavor blunt wraps, which is made out of leaves, that we don't sell at all
Right,
or either.
right.
But does the unflavored blunt wraps can be sell or no?
If it's non-nicotine containing,
Right.
the answer, I think, is yes.
As long
Well,
as it's not tobacco or contains tobacco or nicotine.
but his question was with regard to blunt wrap. So a
Right.
blunt wrap under the definition is made wholly or in part from tobacco product. So my understanding is that retailers can sell an unflavored blunt wrap.
But not if it's made of a tobacco leaf,
Not if it's made of a tobacco leaf.
because it can't have nicotine or flavor,
Right. So just
Well,
made out of leaf, it's fine, but not with the,
not tobacco leaves, though.
Sometimes it's
no,
made out
no.
of the jute or whatever.
A blunt wrap is any product made wholly or in part from a tobacco product manufactured or packaged with loose and removable leaves or section of leaf, or as a hollow tube that may be used by a consumer to wrap or contain loose tobacco or fillers.
So if you look at the definition of tobacco product, that's where it would come in. So a blunt wrap made wholly or in part from a tobacco product. I think this gentleman's talking about a blunt wrap that is not made wholly or in part from a tobacco product.
right. It just made out of leaves only. The example I can give it to her is a Fronto. Is that,
Oh, you. Toronto, we consider that to be a blunt wrap,
Tobacco.
definitely.
made out of tobacco?
It is. It is. A hemp wrap that's not flavored. Is okay to sell. Hemp wrap that's flavored is a flavor enhancer. But the unflavored one is not made wholly or in part from tobacco.
Including the leaf.
So unflavored blunt wraps are not allowed to be sold? Was that your question?
Unless,
ban the sale of blunt wraps, all blunt wraps are not allowed to be sold. It's just, what is a definition, you know?
right,
I didn't know that was part of, I didn't know we were looking at banning
I
blunt
think
wraps.
you folks did a long time ago.
Yes, we
I
did.
think.
We did.
I could be wrong.
It's in the original.
It's in the original.
yeah,
Yeah, blunt wrap by itself was banned.
right.
That's why, when it comes to the non-flavor or flavor, that's why we get confused, like now.
Tonight because of it may be out of date, just to ban all blunt wraps. It's the ones that I think are, if they're made out of some tobacco product or are flavored in some way, we would ban that, but not other types
Well,
of blunt wraps. No,
no, I think that we ban the flavored ones across the board.
right.
Yeah.
But the blunt wraps made with tobacco leaves could be sold to somebody 21 and older.
That was my understanding, which is
Okay.
why I'm trying to seek
Because we're just banning
clarification.
the sale of tobacco to people under 21.
I mean, look at what you've got now. I mean, if you ban the sale of blunt wraps,
I don't think
I
we
don't think we
did.
should be. That's the change I personally would want to make from two thousand
no
eighteen.
entity shall sell or distribute
Section J.
blunt wraps
On the
in
current-
Yarmouth, section J. And definition of blunt wraps. I think when you did that.
Yeah, it's section J.
changed on there. That still says made wholly or in part. Let me go back to your original.
You
Okay.
have the two thousand eighteen there in front of you? What does it say?
Exactly what's there. Prohibition of sale of blunt wraps. No person or entity shall sell or distribute blunt wraps in Yarmouth.
But what's the definition? That's what.
The definition, when you ban that, looks like it said, any tobacco product manufactured or packaged as a wrap or as a hollow tube made wholly or in part from tobacco that is designed or intended to be filled by the consumer with loose tobacco or other fillers.
So why did we do it that way? In other words, that we were including wraps that were made out of a tobacco product. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I just want to know what our thinking. I don't recall.
I don't recall. I recall, I mean, I didn't know much about blunt wraps, but I recall Bob being here and showing us some and talking about it, and
He may be able to clarify it for you. He's on vacation this week.
well,
so.
I mean, I'm not sure he could remember our thinking because I don't remember my thinking, but I'm thinking now that the ban should be on blunt wraps made of tobacco products, tobacco leaves cannot be sold to people under 21, because that's
Right.
basically what our ban is on just straight tobacco sales. Anything with tobacco, the tobacco flavored tobacco product. So I think the ban on blunt wraps should be on the plain blunt wraps, so, or flavored ones.
Only. I mean, just the flavored ones.
Just the flavored ones
Cannot-
across the board, and
Right.
then the plain blunt wraps can be sold to anyone over 21.
Regardless
like-
of what they're made out of.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
tobacco,
Right.
that's how I see
So,
it.
I mean, a person under 21 shouldn't be able to purchase a blunt wrap, period,
Right.
right?
Right.
That's
what
because
we're
it's a
saying.
nicotine containing product.
Right. If it's nicotine, but like she said, a hemp,
If you
a hemp
ban the
product,
sale of all blunt wraps.
Okay.
You wouldn't be able to purchase it.
Right. So
I'm assuming.
that
you're over
doesn't make
21.
too much sense to me, because if a person over 21 can buy a cigarette,
Right.
they
and
should
want
be able to
roll
buy
it
a
up or
blunt wrap.
smoke, they should be able to buy it.
It's essentially
Right,
the same product.
Whatever they're gonna use it
It's
for.
for different purposes.
Well, sure.
yeah.
And to this gentleman's credit, and the comments of the other retailers, some people are buying these for utilization of marijuana, or
Right.
which is legal in the state, so.
Right.
That's not our purview here. with this policy.
Right.
So we're back to the definition of blunt wrap then. And it sounds like we want to change it
potentially to include
Well,
flavors.
actually, this, a blunt wrap made wholly or in part.
Page 3, just as a
Maybe we
reminder. up
don't
in top.
Need to, maybe we do not need to change it, but we need to go to the regulation pertaining to the blunt wrap.
Sure, J.
Because this definition sounds okay.
The definition sounds
Right?
fine.
Yes.
Mm.
So could we just move to the,
Section J, page
paragraph?
9,
Be all right. To kind of help us
prohibition.
flavor
of the
part of
yeah,
it.
deal with the flavored part.
So
And
what
the-
page are you
and the
moving to?
21 part.
Page 9,
Page
Nine.
right? Section J.
Prohibition, okay. No person or entity shall sell or distribute blunt wraps in Yarmouth. Then to those under 21 years old. That's what we would say there.
Well, I think we wanted to
To
include,
anybody.
we wanted to include the,
Right. But blunt wraps as defined does not say anything about flavor.
Right, but if you're saying no person shall sell blunt wraps in Yarmouth, then
we have to specify.
this gentleman can sell
Right.
flavored blunt wraps to somebody over 21, which is a violation of the state
So
law.
then do we have to put something in the definition of blunt wraps that pertains to flavored, or can we just put it in this section with the prohibition?
think that it's-
Distribute flavored blunt wraps in Yarmouth. So no person or entity shall sell or distribute flavored blunt wraps in Yarmouth.
And then we would say, no person or entity shall sell or distribute unflavored blunt wraps in Yarmouth to those under 21. We have to have both parts in there to
I mean,
be,
it's,
My understanding was that that was already covered elsewhere in the regulation, but I
Okay,
could
but this is it.
totally be wrong.
this is it.
it's
This is all we
detailed
have.
out on the tobacco product flavor enhancer definition.
Where is that?
Under the definitions section, right after smoking bars, tobacco product flavor enhancer. It
Right.
is
That's at the top of 6.
Yep,
Yep.
page,
top of 6. So if you look at last sentence, rolling paper with a characterizing flavor shall be considered a tobacco product flavor enhancer. So so that's like saying you're not banning all rolling papers, but you're banning
okay,
the flavored rolling papers, which the state has done.
so,
Yeah, I put a note here whether to add blunt wrap to this. I mean, is it rolling paper and blunt wraps, or that's not gonna
I
work?
guess they're two different things.
I'm sorry,
Blunt wrap and a rolling paper are considered two different things.
Yeah.
they are two different things. A rolling paper is generally made of paper. And a blunt wrap is generally made of either broadleaf tobacco or hemp.
They're also usually larger. You can cut it to customize it where the,
Cut them into
where the
different
rolling papers
sizes,
generally
you can
aren't.
leave them bigger, rolling papers are, just enough to cover a cigarette.
right.
Then it sounds like we need to add something for rolling papers.
Since you're not making final decisions, since it's not a hearing tonight, it's a working session. I can come back, take this back to the attorneys, because I'm not an attorney, and I can take the issue of blunt wraps back to them and clarify with them on this. I've never had a board who banned the sale of blunt wraps, then change that. So
But we're not
I'm not
changing it.
exper-
We're just saying the blunt wraps are not permitted to be sold to people under 21.
Can I interject here?
Yeah.
So my understanding, based on reading this, right now I'm referencing page 6, section D. No tobacco sales to persons under 21 years old.
Right.
My understanding, I realize that a blunt wrap is its own definition. But I'm going to read page 6, section D, item 1. No person shall sell or provide a tobacco product to a person under 21 years old. I'm not going to read the entire tobacco product definition, But my understanding is that a blunt wrap is covered under this term tobacco product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so my feeling, I mean, unless it's needed for clarity, but, and maybe it is, but I don't know as it's necessary under page 9, section J. I don't know as it's necessary to specify unless the board or anyone feels that it's necessary to add the stipulation about a person being 21. Because a blunt wrap is a tobacco product. That's just my understanding based on reading this.
Oh,
But we're not
Oh.
saying it can't be sold to anybody.
it's only if it is made of tobacco.
But that's how blunt wraps are defined. So we are talking about tobacco. blunts. I mean, the definition is tobacco,
So
wholly or in part.
blunt wraps are made out with the leaves.
Yes.
And if, when we did in 2018, we did it because there was a flavor blunt wraps was in the market. And so people cannot get into that flavor blunt wrap. That's why I think they, we probably decide not
So
to do
you,
that.
did you feel this definition in the 2018 regulation meant that you could sell blunt wraps as long as they were unflavored, you could sell them to anybody?
That's what we were thinking, but we didn't sell blunt wrap because
It said no.
just
blunt
want to
wraps.
be, we just want to be
Sell
not
them at
selling.
all. But I thought you said you were selling blunt wraps.
No,
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 no.
no.
That's right, not at all. Okay.
Neither flavor, nor either unflavored. We did not sell the blunt wrap at all.
How much of a problem is that for you to not be able to sell them? Is it a big revenue loss? A lot of people come in and say, oh, well, you don't have blunt wraps, we'll go somewhere else.
Well, I would say not and yes, because if the other towns are selling a non-flavor blunt wrap, it may. But if everybody are on the common ground, no.
Which is what we'd like to have happen to
Right,
everyone.
and that's why I did mention last meeting too.
Right.
If it is common ground for everybody, it's much easier than,
I would think most of the towns on the Cape have a ban on the sale of blunt wraps.
Okay,
Hyannis,
I don't know.
no, I don't
about
think so,
that.
no.
I mean, a blunt wrap, if it's essentially, if it's a piece of broadleaf tobacco, that's
it's-
essentially what a
it's a tobacco
cigar
product.
is rolled in.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
tobacco.
So
product.
it's, I have no problem with
With what?
retailers selling an unflavored blunt wrap.
I agree with you.
That's just my feeling.
So you don't consider it a tobacco product?
Oh, I do.
Definitely
And It
is. Of
shouldn't be sold to people under 21.
course not.
Right.
No, but
Why I think we should
but I-
clarify this.
sure, if that's, that's fine with me. Yeah. If you feel it needs further, when I read it, I feel as though it's implied, but maybe implying is not.
Well, but the retailers felt like it meant to anybody, period.
Right,
Right.
Okay, that's my misunderstanding.
So that's why I'm saying if we clarify it, then if you want to sell it, if this is what happens, if this is what we adopt, then you could sell it.
right,
As long as it was to under 21 and it was unflavored.
right.
But you said you weren't selling blunt wraps.
Yeah, because at that time, we were thinking, period.
It says
Either
what it says,
21 plus or 21 under.
Okay,
because it says no person or entity shall sell or distribute blunt wraps in Yarmouth. Because that's what we were saying and that, yeah, would apply to anybody.
Okay, so how can we have a regulation that allows stores to sell non-flavored?
Non-tobacco blunt wraps. And blunt wraps.
well,
I can get
well,
language from the attorneys on that if that's what you want
Okay.
to say.
if it's hemp, it's not a blunt wrap.
Right. It's not? You
Correct.
You said it is. It is.
the definition of a blunt wrap
Why can't,
On
why can't,
page-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, the definition of a blunt wrap on page 3 is any product made wholly or in part from a tobacco product.
Right,
So if it's
yeah,
a,
you're right.
if it's
you're
a
right, you're
hemp
right,
product, it doesn't contain
Right,
tobacco unless
I mean,
it's hemp and tobacco. But I don't know as those
I
exist.
think the bottom line is, I think we should be banning the flavored product.
Right.
In fact,
and we
the
do.
wraps made out of the tobacco, I don't think is of any significance,
I
Correct.
do. It's a tobacco product and we've said not
but it's
to
not flavored.
21.
We,
Not to
we,
under 21.
of course not. We can't sell any tobacco products to someone under
Right.
21, but whether it's rolling paper or wrap paper or cigarettes, those are, it's just tobacco. I don't see that they should be restricted to not being able to sell the wrap.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I guess just you're one store owner, but you weren't thinking that you're gonna sell blunt wraps to someone under 21.
Right.
Was that,
Or
That-
anyone, or anybody.
Well, at that, at the time of the decision last time in 2018, we were thinking like the ban permanent, blunt wrap,
Across the board.
Right.
Right, and that's what. it is
either
said.
under or over. And just like, in the last meeting, we mentioned like people are using the blunt wrap or the legalized marijuana,
sure,
we should implement like, we can do that, like unflavored blunt wrap should be allowed to sell.
Yes,
And obviously, any product, by all means, any product related to tobacco, the 21 will not buy it anyway, and that is a penalizable. They can be penalized under 21, but not
right.
unflavored
I-
blunt wrap or 21.
I agree with you. I'm not sure. I'll say it again, and maybe I'm missing on this. It is on page 9, J, prohibition sale of blunt wraps. We just need to add
flavor,
flavor.
or
And we're
those
done.
containing,
Or under 21, because he just told us how he interpreted it. He interpreted it literally, which is how I would have done too. You
Okay,
can't sell them, period, and we have to say,
okay, you can add that in. I don't think it's necessary because you can't sell tobacco products
Right,
to anyone. under
right,
21, but
that's
it's
my-
fine, add it
that's-
on.
but,
This is
well-
fine. That's fine. If it's clear, let's add on the age as well.
Okay.
No? I mean, I'm fine with that.
sure. But so we need to add 2 components,
That's all.
one about under 21 and one about flavor.
So there, okay, you made a motion. I don't think it was second, so it's lost, I believe. Right? I know. It was 17 minutes ago, whatever it was. Anyway, so that's
whatever,
gone.
yeah.
So let's start over and maybe somebody can make a motion for Jay on page 9 for the prohibition dealing with blunt wraps.
I guess just my concern is when we add the verbiage of under 21 and flavored, how can we do that effectively? Well, for example, if you say no person or entity shall sell or distribute flavored blunt wraps to an individual under 21,
No, you just say flavored blunt wraps in Yarmouth, period. No person or entity shall sell or distribute blunt wraps in Yarmouth to persons under 21.
okay, fine.
You're okay with that?
I just didn't know how
Yeah.
to,
Fine.
yeah, that's great.
better Than,
Fine.
yes, that's great. Let's call that a motion. Is there a
Second.
second? Great. Any other discussion on it? None. Good. Eric, how you voting?
Yes. Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Aye. Charlie?
What?
There's a motion and we're voting on it.
To let them sell blunt wraps to
Go ahead and
people.
vote on it. I'm not gonna.
What's that?
I'm not gonna.
Okay, you're abstaining?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You want to tell us why you're abstaining on it? For the public?
Well, I listened to this talk about being 21. It keeps getting asked up. I don't understand it because in the state of Massachusetts, I don't believe you're supposed to sell any tobacco products to anybody under 21 anyway. So why are we having this big argument for half an hour over this? Blunt
We're
wrap in
cleaning up
21.
Because because we forbid it to anybody. And now we're saying it's not, blunt wraps aren't forbidden to everybody. They're forbidden to those over 21 because, or under 21, because that's the legal age to which you can sell tobacco products. So we're loosening up the regulation, basically. So we're saying these folks at retailers, if they want, they can sell blunt wraps as long as they're not flavored and as long as they're not to people under 21.
Okay. All right, yeah,
Okay.
okay, yes.
Okay.
You want to change your vote or not? You were abstaining.
That's okay with me, yeah.
Okay, so it's unanimous. That's done now. Let's make sure.
Make sure I've got it
Yeah,
clear.
okay.
So it was a clear, that's the second sentence. Mary, what was your second? You added a sentence to this section.
Right.
To the age.
Well, yeah, no person or entity shall sell or distribute blunt wraps in Yarmouth. Or
Flavored.
no person or entity shall sell or distribute flavored blunt wraps in Yarmouth. No person or entity shall sell or distribute blunt wraps in Yarmouth to persons under 21.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Jared,
Thank you.
Sarah, is that okay? You have that?
Sounds fine. I guess, I mean, I'll send it.
You'll
to
come
the
back to
attorneys
us
and
Tell us
and
if
let us
that's
know
all
if-
right, but
if
They'll
we
probably say that's fine.
good.
that
Okay.
work?
So
Wait a minute, we have one more.
definition.
We have
of
someone from the
blunt
audience
wraps.
here yet? Okay, sir?
Do you understand that?
Yes, absolutely.
Did you have
So-
another comment on it?
No, I think we're good on that.
Okay,
Flavored blunt wrap not allowed, and any blunt wrap under 21 is not allowed.
right.
Yeah.
But
This
But
is just a
again-
draft. You
Yeah,
haven't voted
yeah,
on it.
Yeah, that's, well, if you're gonna come back, we're gonna come back too, so.
Good.
Always welcome. Okay, so where are we now?
I believe we are still in the definition section, and I think I can go through this fairly quickly. We backed up to blunt wraps, so we did through, I know we did healthcare institutions. And got that, we've got
oh my God.
tobacco flavored product enhancer definition.
What page?
Thank you.
Six. Top of six.
Off of page 6?
Yep, top of page 6.
Okay,
The last sentence. Rolling paper with characterizing flavor. Sounds like maybe you've already made a decision on that because Erica doesn't have it highlighted on the copy that I was given. That's, you have discretion on adding that one sentence, not the whole definition, but just that one sentence.
My question or concern with that is how is a retailer to know what would be considered a characterizing flavor?
There's a definition of characterizing.
So,
flavors.
Page 3, characterizing flavor is a distinguishable taste or aroma other than the taste or aroma of tobacco imparted or detectable either prior to or during consumption of a tobacco product or component part thereof, including but not limited to tastes or aromas relating to any fruit, chocolate, vanilla, honey, candy, cocoa, dessert, alcoholic beverage, menthol, mint, wintergreen, herb, or spice, provided, however, that no tobacco product shall be determined to have a characterizing flavor solely because of the provision of the ingredient information or the use of additives or flavorings that do not contribute to the distinguishable taste or aroma of the product. But my concern is when a retailer comes in and has a new product with a flashy name, and it's not clear to the retailer whether or not it's a characterizing flavor. Because we've had instances where retailers come in with a product that they were sold and they, to the best of their knowledge, they didn't know. So I just have a little bit concerned about that.
Rolling papers would be the same. Could be challenging if the manufacturer or distributor isn't saying this is a characterizing flavor product.
So what a retailer should do regarding characterizing flavors when a new product comes into their store, they should check it in a few different ways. One is they can always Google it. I wouldn't go to the product site. I would go to like consumer sites, wholesale distributor sites, because if it's flavored, they're gonna trip up and they're gonna say it's flavored. You know, it tastes like a nice after dinner brandy drink.
Mhm.
Whereas the manufacturer is still gonna keep hiding it.
Mhm.
So Googling it is one way. The other way, and I think it might be important to maybe do at least 2 out of the 3 that I'm gonna mention, is the other way is you open it up, you smell it.
Mhm.
The decision, Cumberland Farmsworth versus Yarmouth Board of Health, part of the decision was that you don't have to identify what it smells like. You just have to identify that it smells like something other than tobacco.
Right.
So what Mary may smell as peach, I may smell as lemon, it doesn't matter. It smells like something other than tobacco. The third way, and this is very important, is the state has now mandated that all products being sold, all products being sold in adult-only retail tobacco stores and convenience stores have manufacturer letters from each manufacturer listing their products that are being sold in that store, attesting that they're not flavored. There have been instances that manufacturers have put flavored products on that list and said that they're not flavored. That's why a retailer, if it's a new product, should open it up, do the sniff test, or go online, see what it's looking like. If they open it up and do the sniff test and say, I'm not smelling anything, but Bob comes in and sees, okay, it's on the manufacturer letter, but statewide, we're talking about that this is probably flavored, then I can't speak for Bob, but in all likelihood, he's not going to find that retailer. He's going to say, we think this is suspicious and let's look into it a little bit more. And usually what happens when we start looking into it is the manufacturer takes the name off of the letter.
this has been the most difficult issue we've had with the regulations.
Yeah.
I point out the state was not able to keep an up-to-date listing of products.
Right.
Okay, there's issues of whether things should be sent out to a lab, it never materialized, the expense involved. This is just my opinion. I think a sniff test may not hold up in court. There are people who have sinus problems who aren't going to smell anything. And that would not be the way to go. I don't think Googling something, you can find pluses and minuses on Googling. I think the most important thing is a letter from the manufacturer, and that would hold up legally.
As long as you
Even if-
believe they're not
even-
lying, but
even
they
if-
have.
Right.
Well-
But that will protect, I think, the retailer. They need
my
to keep the
concern.
product in the back until they have the letter. And if you're not getting the letter, you shouldn't be selling the product.
Right, that's the way to start, is the letter. And see, what it says on the letter. There's no way we could have kept a database
Of course.
because there's over 7,000 flavored products.
Right.
And it was just unwieldy.
Right.
So changing daily.
Right. And they change the names and all.
So if a retailer has a letter from the manufacturer attesting that it's not a flavored product, they essentially should have some peace of mind in understanding that they're complying with
I
the
mean,
law.
Bob might say to them, I know I see it on the letter here, but we're hearing that this really is a flavored product. Let's look into it a little bit more. He's not going to say, guess what? You get $1,000 fine.
Good.
Right.
What's involved in obtaining that documentation?
Documentation as far as the manufacturer letter.
Yeah.
A phone call to their distributor or wholesaler. 8,000 vendors in Massachusetts have to have these letters. Every wholesaler or distributor in Massachusetts has them sitting right on file because 8,000 retailers have been calling them for 2 years saying, I need these. So it's a matter of a phone call.
So,
We have a comment. Yes.
yeah, your point, I completely understand, but if the retailer, the wholesaler and the distribution people, if they both says, yes, it is, you can sell it. And after all, if Bob or anybody else comes in and says, no, it's not, then who's gonna be accountable for
Well,
us or they?
then Bob's gonna work with you to look into it a
Right.
little bit further. And in the instances that we have done that, the manufacturer has then come back and all of a sudden miraculously, that name has disappeared off of their letter because they know in Massachusetts, we're gonna check them.
But I think for our retailers, it's important to protect you.
Yes.
If you can obtain that, if there's a product that you're unsure of, if you can obtain that letter,
They
I-
have to have
Yeah.
the letter now.
You have to have the letter by law.
okay.
Because so many times when we go to even trade shows or if the new product comes in, we tell them, we ask them right away, it says, is this sellable in Massachusetts? So 9 out of 10 times they will say yes.
Yep.
And all of a sudden that name goes on the list. But we don't know the list.
Yep.
So
you
that's
have to
why.
Get it.
Right, and then that's, that means we have to keep up every single day for the list. And I'm not saying we're not, but obviously if the 10 products comes in. And if the one product comes in on the one day and the second product comes in after 10 days. Then we're gonna be like screwed.
Well, that's why I'm saying about the letter. If you demand the letter that attests that it's not a flavored product, then not to say you don't need to look at the list, but you have some level of confidence
Right.
that I'm protected, I'm complying with the law, because their job's to sell product.
And there.
Your job is to sell product, but legally,
Yeah.
and
And-
you're trying to do that and protect yourself and your business.
And that's why, if we have that letter and we keep selling it. And all of a sudden, anybody comes in and inspect and they says, no, this is not. So how about that? Like, how we can justify that argument?
Well, Sarah said that Bob or whoever was inspecting would look at the letter with you and say, okay, I see it's on there, but we think, and we've heard that it is flavored, so let's look into this further.
Right.
So it wouldn't be, we can't speak for all inspectors, but what we feel they're going to
Right.
be fair. It wouldn't be an automatic, okay, that's a fine, goodbye. It's going to be, okay, something's wrong here. It's on this list that you in good faith went by, but we're hearing it is flavored. We're seeing it's flavored. If I were the inspector, I'd say, let's open up one right now. If that's not something you've done, and if it was a new product, I'd do it, and say, oh, wait a minute,
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I had that incident, I just want to brought up this one. And I did get fined for that, the official from the town board of health came in and checked the entire store of mine. And everything was okay. Week after, Bob Collette came in and said, oh, you cannot sell this. And I did not move anything and I did not brought anything in. And he said, oh, no, it's gonna be fine. So,
Did you have a letter in that case from the manufacturer?
there was, at that time, it wasn't,
they weren't available.
No.
They didn't have to.
Yeah.
so that was like, that's the one of the incidents I'm gonna brought up.
Yeah.
It's one reason why the state has required that you have the letters. And if I was a retailer, and I know this has happened in a lot of places, retailers, when they're getting in a new product and your distributor's trying to get you to sell that product, tell them, I'm not going to sell it until I see it on a letter.
Well, that's one of the reason in our store, we minimize anything. Like anything new comes in, we just put aside,
Good.
make sure it's sellable, and then we can put it on the shelf. And
Yeah.
that's our job, in other words. And
Yes.
by all means, it still become like a flavor, then we out of luck.
And if you have a question, you can always contact Bob and say, you know, what do you know about this product? Is this okay? Is
I
this
think
not?
Yeah.
that's, we, you know, we as a group, we working with the Bob on that too,
Good,
because we have a personal seminar with the Bob
good.
regarding to that, like, you know, how we can sell and what we can sell. And he's guiding us. Don't take me wrong, he's guiding us. And he tells like, hey, this is what it is. You can sell it until you sell out, but don't order anymore, which is, and that's why we always says to everybody, like, let's work hand to hand instead of just like,
This is why you don't want your new employees making the decisions when the new orders come in.
Right.
Stuff should be in the back
And-
until the right person is looking at it. It's complicated. It's too easy to make a mistake.
yes, exactly. And
Too costly for you.
and it's offense. And the fine included. So it's, it hurts the business sometimes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Before you leave, can I just ask, you? We're talking about hypothetical. In reality, are those letters as easy to get as it being portrayed here?
They don't supply it unless you ask for it.
Ask
You
for
have to
it.
ask.
So if but they do come in,
The
are available.
Product does come in, but they
a
don't.
letter, but with that letter,
No.
that you have to have that authorization.
No, you have to ask them for the letter. They don't come. The product doesn't come with the letter.
Right.
You have to call them and say, I've got this and can you send me the letter that has this on that? And they'll, fax it over, email it over, or whatever.
All right.
Well,
so-
I would suggest the state may do something like, if the new product comes in,
Right.
products should come with the letter.
It's not as,
Good.
it's not as seamless as maybe as what's being portrayed here.
Right.
You're on the defensive, and it also appears the dynamics of your distributor isn't necessarily have your best interest either.
No,
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 absolutely
they
not.
don't.
So if the state
That.
mandate to distributor to say, okay, whenever the product comes in, you have to send the letter.
Why can't we do that?
Well, I'm not an attorney. I don't know why we can't do that, but the state regulations really don't address just, manufacturers lying,
Right.
distributors
Right.
being uncooperative. And there's no, there's no way to go back after the distributor who sells this poor man something that is not what it's supposed to be.
However, now we're saying that they have, the manufacturers, or the distributors rather, have to provide a letter. Why can we not say, I understand this has to go through a process, but why can we not say, and they have to supply that letter with each delivery? An up-to-date letter with each delivery. I
So
mean, it takes some of the burden off of the retailer.
you want
is at
that to
the
be a
mercy
state
of-
law, or you want that to be a regulation that you put in?
Oh, good, very good question.
To be a state law, the legislature has to
I know that.
reopen the law, which is the chances of that are probably very, very slim.
Right.
I understand.
You can go beyond the state law. You can exceed the state law.
Mhm,
I
right.
can, if you've got an idea of what you want it to say, I can put it past an attorney in the morning and ask them.
Okay.
Sarah,
What's your opinion on that?
I would say if they go statewide, it's make more sense and easier.
Well,
to-
I mean, it's not going to without going through the legislature, but Sarah is saying, but we can say as a town Board of Health that the distributor must supply a up-to-date letter with each delivery.
that the product they're sending are
Right.
okay to sell in Yarmouth.
Instead of putting the onus on you, the burden on you to have to call up and say, did you send me a letter? And my fear would be that that letter could become outdated. And so if you're not continuing to call, they might not say, oh, we better send him an updated letter because we think he wants it,
So you're saying he couldn't put the product on the floor until he's got the letter?
Right. The
So
same,
Look at on page 4, manufacturer documentation. There's the state definition of what they want.
on page
and-
4.
Bottom.
Oh,
Your
yes, okay, I see. Yeah.
manufacturer documentation at the bottom and it sounds like you'd like me to check and see if we can put in a sentence that no product on the sales floor until there's adequate documentation or.
No, my point is that the distributor has to send an updated list
We don't have
letter
any control over them.
with any, okay, but I thought you said as a board,
No,
we could do that.
As a
Well, we
board,
can- we
well,
can.
because you're not licensing distributors. You don't have control of over them because you're
Right.
licensing him.
Right.
You can say that he can't put it on the floor until he's got it in a letter. Except for, I think,
That's the same as selling though.
in the, yeah,
Yeah.
in the regulations, it's
Yeah.
pretty much
But we would,
Yeah.
assumed.
That's not one of
our
us.
goal would be to do that in a way that it's not a burden on the
Right,
retailer.
but we can't, she said, because we do not
Right.
license the distributors. The state does, so the state
Right.
can do, well, I guess I'd just like you to make a note that we would like for them to, you know, at some point, think about amending the regulation, which is good one that's just come out, but let's go further and say that the distributor has to provide an up-to-date letter each time there's a shipment that comes. Even though we know that's not something that's going to happen.
Well, how often are a manufacturer comes out with a product? Does the product change? Probably, I assume not.
Well, the list of products would on it, on the list, on the letter.
Well, right, but a product comes out, whatever it is, Marlboro Reds. I don't know. Does the product change or is it, we're trying to,
It goes off or on the list.
we're trying to address new products. New products, because that's the issue. You've been selling Marlboro Reds for 20 years, right? But something comes out that you're unfamiliar with. That's when you need to be
That's when we need. to be
concerned and,
Right.
yeah, careful. So is there a way to do that without putting all of the responsibility
No, I
on the
think the onus
retailer?
ends up on the retailer because
Yeah.
he's the person that you have the permit with, not the wholesaler.
Right.
You want it to be up to date because if they have black jazz and suddenly now they're adding flavor to black jazz.
Right,
You've got a problem. So it's really when they're making the delivery that cover yourself, you'd want the letter.
Yeah, we want the letter.
And not the one from 3 years ago when black jazz was delivered and maybe a different product.
what would happen if you asked your distributors to supply the letter with every shipment for every product for every shipment? Just hypothetically, they'd laugh at you.
They probably gonna say, well, you work for a state or town. Just,
Okay. Well, we tried.
no, but the idea was, our idea is and was great to ask even, state to do something.
Oh, we'll see. Maybe someday they'll,
Could I just, are there more, how many distributors are working in, say, like on the Cape or, are you working with the same distributors across multiple communities? Are there a wide variety of distributors or is this just a small group of distributors?
I think it's, the one or two, or maybe I would say 4 or maybe 5, the top distributors, they distribute
Okay.
the
The
tobacco.
So
products.
it's a manageable number.
Right.
Okay. Would we have that information?
I don't,
Okay. It just seems,
there's different distributors all across the state, so I wouldn't know which ones
Right.
focus on the
I'm
Cape.
sure we could
In-
get it from our retailers.
the burden is clearly being put on the retailer.
right.
And they could be they could be buying product that they can't actually turn around and sell.
You're preaching to the choir. We've talked to the state about more pressure on the wholesalers because they're telling the retailers that the product is fine, it complies with the law, and it doesn't in some instances. But we just haven't gotten anywhere with that. We brought it up at the state level over and over again.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really frustrating. I mean, I mean, we're trying to protect you.
Right.
And the suspensions, it's very costly for
Yeah.
you and it's just,
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we left off with the last sentence on rolling papers, and that is,
just
I'm
give us the
looking
page
to s-
number. I'm sure I'm not on the right one.
yeah. Let's see.
6, top of 6.
halfway down 5 rolling papers.
Oh, I'm
And I
sorry.
think
Okay.
The copy that Phil sent me indicated that you folks wanted to keep in that last sentence, which says a rolling paper with a characterizing flavor shall be considered a tobacco product flavor enhancer. And that's how
Yes.
we got on the conversation of characterizing flavors. So I just want to confirm that that's your decision to keep that sentence in.
The actual last sentence or the second to last?
What, which sentence? Would you read
Last
it?
Sentence, last sentence, a rolling paper with a characterizing flavor shall be considered a tobacco product flavor enhancer. Oh, I'm sorry,
No.
That's
no.
page
not,
6,
not
page
the
6.
rolling paper definition.
Tobacco product flavor enhancer, top of page 6,
Tobacco product
Oh.
flavor enhancer, sorry.
last
thank you.
sentence.
Okay,
The rolling
Looking at too many things here at once.
I'm fine with that.
So rolling
I'm fine with
paper,
that too.
Yes.
using that
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, yes.
And then section D. Let's see what you decided to do on that. You have adult-only retail tobacco
No.
stores, Jay, or you don't?
No.
Do not.
So we can remove that. Because you've got a permit cap, right? And
Yes,
you're retiring permits.
Right.
yes.
Right.
But that's not to say that,
Someone might not try.
Yes.
so let's leave it in.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Let's leave it in. Okay.
That's fine.
So
Good.
keep. Then down to D two. No, that's probably a mistake. D2C. D2C, I just removed the smoking bars, so we're gonna leave in that whole section, adult only, in case you ever get an adult only. You can ban them if you don't have them. You know, you can look at in the permit capping, you can say, and I'm just gonna hypothetically pull a number out of the head. You can say there shall be no more than 29 tobacco sales permits in Yarmouth, of which 0 will be adult only retail tobacco stores. So you can ban them. There's been
I think we are.
communities. that
I
have
think
done it.
we've already.
So that's not anything that that's in your regulation. And it's not an option that you've seen.
Right.
It's just strikes me that if you don't have any, why would you want them?
Right. I mean, a simple sentence about banning smoking bars, I mean, and adult only, I mean, I guess it's really these smoking bars and just ban them. We have a ban on it. So in other words, someone who wants to switch, they have a license. That really has nothing to do with the number 29, or in the future, it could be 27 or whatever the cap is. It has nothing to do with the cap. It's just that we're gonna ban them.
Right.
So someone can convert their license. That's all. So you'll be,
It's really hard to become a smoking bar, but you've already banned those. An adult only, there's not a lot of profit in it for them. They can't sell flavored products. They can sell higher nicotine
Yes.
strength,
yes,
but,
Can't sell to take out,
right. Well,
or can they?
so if you went in and bought vape products, yes, you can take it out.
Oh.
Smoking bar, you can't,
Oh,
because that's where the flavors are.
Right.
And they don't want the flavors coming out of the smoking bar. But Right, you could say that. We've got, at any time, there shall be no more than 29 tobacco sales permits issued in Yarmouth, of which 0 will be adult-only retail tobacco stores, reduced by the number of permits not renewed pursuant to section 8D below.
Fine with that.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Where were you just reading from, Sarah?
Excuse me?
Where were you just reading from?
I'm reading from section 8 in the permit section. And it's gonna be on your page 8, up kind of near the top. Number
Right,
8
right.
on page 8,
8A, 8 small a. I move that we
and
add,
it's 8A.
Yep.
And we would add the sentence, after 29 tobacco sales product permits, of which. Now, see, you've got different language there than what I've got in front of me.
I mean, under 8, is A, B, and C even necessary? We have a cap.
yeah,
You
B,
know,
B doesn't,
I've
shouldn't
asked
be
the
there.
attorneys that a number of times and they feel that it is necessary. And even. Oh, okay.
I mean, we don't need waiting lists
No, we're
because
not
there
gonna
aren't
have
any
one.
waiting lists.
I know, and I've gone back to them about that, thinking, okay, I just don't understand this, and they've come back and. I mean, I can check with them one more time in the morning. They did add in. After the name Yarmouth. They added in something that somehow got slipped out of the template. And it says reduced by the number of permits not renewed pursuant to section 8D below.
I didn't follow that, but
So.
anyone did.
Where were they adding this?
After Yarmouth on 8A, Yarmouth,
Okay,
reduced by the number of permits not renewed pursuant to section 8D below. That should be in the latest copy that we sent you, Jay, last Friday, I believe.
No.
I forwarded you.
No. Unless
And
you,
I think it was
to
before
Phil.
I talked to Phil.
you didn't forward me, you would have forwarded to Phil.
Forwarded it to Phil.
This is what we printed.
Email from you sent an email. The email from the lawyer.
Right.
from Cheryl Sabara,
Yeah, send an email.
and it's her edited copy.
Right.
So that's what I've got in front of me is her edited copy.
We didn't get that. We just the email.
No, we have it. We have, right? Isn't that what you,
I don't know.
we have the letter, but isn't this what you gave us? Is there edited copy?
Is
We
this?
need to start throwing out all the other
I
copies.
have to tell you, this has been the most confusing. It really has been, and the board's put a lot of
Like I
time.
said, I feel like I'm walking into the middle of a movie and I don't know what happened.
I know. Yeah, and I understand. I appreciate your frustration as well.
You know, I think that this whole thing about B and C in the waiting list, that came up when we were discussing this before, because in some towns, they're not retiring them
Right.
permanently,
right.
but we are. And so at the time we said, no, this shouldn't be in here because there's not going to be a waiting list. We're not going to be in the process, the position of getting permits and selling them to people once they're.
Right.
Yeah, I would ask Cheryl. I don't
mean,
think
I
A,
think
B, and
that's-
C
And
are
that was my
needed.
question back today is
Misleading. It's
if
going to tell
somebody
people.
if somebody sells their store, closes their store, and that store then becomes a clothing store, that permit's gonna be retired.
Right, unless the person is,
And
the person can
so
sell it.
what good is a waiting list gonna do? Because you've got no more permits.
Right.
If somebody wants to open a store that sells tobacco.
right. And if they don't want to sell it to somebody else, then it's
Lost.
gone.
Right.
We're not taking it. And
That was my question to her this morning, but I didn't get a.
I mean,
clear-
it's misleading to anybody, I think, that would read our regulation to think that there might be a waiting list. And I don't want to have to deal with people that think that that's a possibility and tell
right.
them, no, that's really not our regulation.
All right, so we will work on that.
How does D look to everyone then, if that's?
Yep, that's it. Yeah, B is correct, yes. I think it's B and
All right,
C.
so we jumped ahead.
A also, because they're talking about as though you'll be a first time permit if applicant. I mean, it's irrelevant, because if you don't renew on time, you lose it. So I don't think A is relevant either. If you don't renew it, it's lost.
Right, because there are no
Okay.
first.
They usually give you
permits.
30 days to renew it.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
but that's it then, it's over because there's no first time permits. So that
Right.
needs to be taken out.
Well,
So if there's. no-
Maybe
if you
amended
don't-
rather than-
If you don't have a waiting list, then
Right,
there's no way for that person to capture their permit back again.
right, right.
So I'll
exactly.
include that into with Cheryl to remove that also.
Okay,
we want to keep the first portion of A, right?
Yes,
At any given
yes,
time.
yeah,
there'll be
Given
no-
time, there shall
Okay.
be no more than 29 permits issued in Yarmouth, reduced by the number of permits not renewed, period.
unless we add the of which
Unless you add the
0 will be tobacco.
0 will
bars.
be adult only.
Adult only rather.
Okay.
Right, but what were you saying about section A?
The part about first time permit applicant, that.
You would just get rid of the first time
Right, because it's not
permit
gonna be
application
any.
portion of
first
it.
time
Okay,
permits.
yeah.
And then B,
Yeah, it would be
C,
any
and
permit
D.
holder who has failed to renew their
Get rid of
permit
it. B,
within
C, and
30
D.
days. would be-
D, right.
Make sure
B
the
and C,
lawyers are
D
good
is
on
what
that.
we
I
want.
mean, you can do it. It's just whether or not legally they say,
Right, okay.
you know,
well,
that, you can do it no matter what,
Right,
but they
we'll
may
do
come
it.
back with a recommendation
It's fine.
We're gonna do it.
other than that.
Right.
Yeah, you can do it no matter what. Yeah.
So what are,
ones?
It's gonna be A and B. A and D will remain. A remains.
Part of it.
Part of it, yes.
So it's really, in A, it's really only the first sentence that remains. Is that correct?
well,
We
we,
would say at any given time, there shall be no more than 29 tobacco product sales permits of issued in Yarmouth, comma, of which 0 will be adult only retail tobacco stores, comma, reduced by the number of permits not renewed.
but I think we need to address the second sentence. Any permit holder who has failed to renew their permit within 30 days of expiration.
Will no longer have a permit.
Yeah,
Will lose their
Yeah,
permit.
yeah.
right.
Right.
That was in the earlier regs that was
Right.
there. But, okay, so it's just getting rid of that first time permit phrase.
Yep, right.
Jay, do you have that? I know this is pretty convoluted.
It is.
We're gonna get rid of that whole, any permit holder section.
No,
No, it's just, it's a very,
No.
I'm sorry, Mary, go ahead. The last section of that sentence, second sentence, any permit holder who has failed to renew their permit within 30 days of expiration date. What will, and then we have to close that.
Lose their
we'll lose their license.
we'll lose the permit.
Yes.
Right. They're calling it a permit. It's a permit.
Lose their permit, okay. Or
Forfeit.
forfeit their permit.
But whatever. Yeah.
All right.
And so then for the board, B and C is gone,
Yes.
Correct.
right?
B and C are gone, and what about, and D is gone. No, D stays in
Used to say,
because that's your retiring.
right,
All right, so D would become B.
yes.
Okay. Then, sale of business is a density policy decision that your board can keep if they would like, or we remove the whole thing.
We decided to keep it. I mean, that was our decision.
Are you a 9 or 10?
10,
9,
9.
9,
sale of
Nine.
business.
9.
That's a density also.
We didn't, we left that in.
And I want to say that the Station Ave retailer was here. Is he here tonight? And that was his question, I think, last time.
It had to do with the 1,000 feet
It was-
that we
right.
had set. under ten.
Right.
The retail density under 10. A2.
Right, I thought 9 was okay, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah,
nine is,
nine
I
is
think
fine.
9 is,
Yeah.
so
nine
on
is
10
fine.
is the issue, we have to select a distance.
We had said 1,000 feet. Bob was here with us. But
what I got was, on 10A little one. Or little, 10AI,
Mhm.
500 feet,
Right,
and then 10A double I, 2,000 feet.
I thought we said 1,000, but 2,000, I don't care. I don't.
Totally up to you folks.
Did we make a selection? Or was it 2 last time?
2,000.
I don't have a good, I don't have a
Remember
good,
2,000 from
you
the
do.
original.
Okay,
It was.
and 2,000.
So we're gonna leave that at 2,000.
That blank will be filled in with 2,000.
Yep.
But that, but. Thought. We were gonna clarify that, we would, that the Station Avenue situation was grandfathered because we haven't even passed this yet.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
This is, right, yeah.
So it doesn't apply to
No,
that
does not.
situation. Okay,
Right, and we changed it from new permit holder to someone who changes the location because we have no new.
Right.
Well, no new permits, not new permit holders. but-
Right.
And,
Does this? Sorry, I'm a stickler for details.
No, it's helpful.
So 10A, if the purchaser of a business with a valid retail. The valid tobacco sales permit. Okay, I'm good. Thanks.
okay.
I'm trying to look in your existing, regulations now. You probably have a prohibition on smoking bars already.
We do.
Okay, so we're gonna leave that in,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cigar sales, the only thing that's changed in there, and Bob may have mentioned it to you folks, or I did, was, due to inflation, the
Right.
recommended price has been
Sure.
bumped up a little
Right,
bit.
yeah.
So that's good. H,
What, tell me again what page, because I'm
yep. let me flip
Nice.
this.
fine. Thank you.
I think
Okay,
yellow
I
there,
got it.
Russ.
Okay,
Yeah, sale of flavored tobacco products. We want to leave in, and it's listed there 3 times possess, hold and keep,
So,
or you don't, or you want those taken out.
so the G is gonna be increasing the value of the single and 5 packs, right?
Raising the price from,
We have $2.50 and $5.
$2.50 and $5 to $2.90 and $5.80. Because of inflation.
That's in the state regulation.
No,
No,
the whole cigar packaging is not a state regulation. It's a local policy that you folks adopted
right,
fairly early on.
yep,
And like, and it's been probably 10 or 12 years since that price has been raised. It started out at $2.50 and $5 for a multi-pack.
Yep.
And now 10 years later, our recommendation is, and you don't have to do it. You can leave it at $2.50 and $5.
but that
Um,
doesn't reflect what they're actually being sold for now.
Well, I mean, in some towns, there, a $2.50 cigar is actually being sold for 89 cents. You
right.
know, I mean, the price got bumped.
Right.
These folks get to keep the difference. But as a result, they may be experiencing less sales.
Well, screamed out.
How much? $3?
Less sell and we got screamed
It's
from the
screamed at.
customer, like, so I think, the regulation is $2.50 and $5. My suggestion is just stay as it is instead of changing to $2.90 and $5.80. Because we're gonna scream more. They still are. If we sell one cigar single cigar for $2.50, they literally throw the money on us like, there you go. And if you do the $2.90, then I don't know what they're gonna do. Maybe jump on the counter? So we do have regulation for $2.50 and $5
Right.
already.
Right. I'd just leave it then.
I don't have any problem leaving it.
Yeah, I
No,
just
we'll
leave
leave
it.
it.
Just leave it.
Leave it at 250
Right.
and 5.
Right.
Thank you.
Right, and nothing else has changed in there. H on page 9, sale of flavored tobacco products, the words possess, hold, and keep in there 3 times. Believe it or not, retailers have had flavored products in their store and then denied that they were for sale. They're just there for display.
Right.
So we felt
Yeah,
like
that's
we
fine.
wanted to give towns
Good.
the
Right,
opportunity
yeah.
to make it specific.
Right,
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay,
Fine.
nicotine content delivery system, I on page 9 is all state language except for, again, we put in possess, held, and kept. In the second paragraph on the second line.
Right,
So I'm assuming you want to keep that in there since you did up above.
Yes.
yes, that's fine.
We already went over sale of blunt wraps more than
Any more than we
more
needed
than we
to.
wanted to. So, let's see, coupons. Coupon redemption, pretty much it's all state language and just might be a little rewording of what you had before, but you had it before.
Right,
Looked fine.
Out of package sales. Again, nothing really different than what you had before, all state language, anything that's been added. Self-service displays, you've had a ban on
right,
those for a long time. Humidors have to be locked. You've had that for a long time. Vending machines, you've had a ban on them for a long time. Same with O at the bottom, towards the bottom of page 10, non-residential roll your own. You've had that for years. Healthcare institution, P at the bottom of page 10 is a state law. Educational institution, banning the sale there. You've had that in your regulations for quite a few years now.
I have a question though, back to the top of page 11.
Okay,
It says, no retail establishment that operates or has a healthcare institution within it, such as a pharmacy, optician / optometrist, which we dealt with earlier and said would not be considered a healthcare establishment.
it's trying to remember this one because I don't come across it very often. I think BJ's might be an example, but you don't have a
BJ's doesn't
BJ's.
operate as we do. Well, we do in Hyannis, but BJ's doesn't operate as a healthcare institution.
No, but they do have an optometrist
No,
within
they
them.
do. I know, and most of those big box stores do.
No, retail establishment that operates or has a healthcare institution within it. So, oh,
I mean, optician to optometrist should be taken out because we've said that earlier that doesn't qualify as a healthcare institution.
all right. We'll check on that. I think it really refers to, aside from your question on that, no retail establishment.
Right. It says they can't sell tobacco if they have a healthcare institution within it,
So,
but an
like
optician,
Stop and
optometrist,
Shop that has a pharmacy.
right,
They've got a choice of keeping the pharmacy open or selling tobacco.
right,
They can't do both,
right. But the optician, optometrist, you
right?
said was not a healthcare institution.
So I'm gonna look into that. Occasionally, boards that look through these things with a fine tooth comb, like you're doing, find things that we've tripped up on. So
Well,
I
that's-
appreciate your diligence at looking through it all. Prohibition of the sale of tobacco products in educational institutions, that's a local policy. You've had that like forever. R, incorporation of state law and regulations, that's all state language. S, in the middle of your page 11, violations, you decided to go with the unified sales or the unified fining. And there's been some conversation between Jay and myself on how it's worded in there. We've got two options. I took the chart out, which you had in your regulation before.
Right.
And I listed things on the chart that you now want to come under the high fine structure. So it's listed there, E1, E4, E7, E10, F, G, O, and Q.
Wait a minute, where are?
I mean, somebody'd have to go, it's the first paragraph under S violations,
Right,
page 11, which would mean if somebody wanted to know what those were, they'd have to go back into the regulation and look and see. I can put the chart back in if you'd
like the
prefer.
chart, yes.
And then I would move those sections over to what's comes under the state fine. I may change the wording of it because I could see a retailer coming back and saying the sale of blunt wraps isn't a state law, but you've got it under the state fines.
Right.
So I might change how we word that, but then we'll have two
Two
columns.
columns, right.
And you're gonna keep blunt wraps for sure in the local policy column, which would be a violation on the first time of 300, then 400, then
Well,
500.
blunt wraps were something that we were going to discuss further. I remember saying that because I didn't know enough about blunt wraps. After our discussion now
Yeah,
and the clarification, I think blunt wraps should be over in the state column with the higher fines because they're tobacco products. And we've clarified the difference between, I mean, that's my feeling. I know that was one of the things that
okay.
we talked about that I know personally I didn't know enough about blunt wraps today.
Right, because it would either be considered an under 21 sale or a
right.
flavored tobacco sale, both of which are
Right. Right.
state regulation.
So I think the blunt wraps need to go over under the state column. And then the other things were I know the other one that I talked about was the one that had to do with the license, operating without a license, which was pretty
Well,
egregious.
let's make sure we have consensus on the blunt wraps
Right,
first.
yeah, that's just me. Just doing the talking here.
I think you'd be leaving a few things. Maybe you hadn't decided on them. Transfer of permit in the sale of business. And generally any other local policies, leaving those under local.
That was on the next page.
And then, yeah, I think it's on your next.
Page 12.
If
Where are you?
That's actually page 17. If we go back to
The
the
old one.
The old one, fine.
the two columns, if we go back to the two columns.
I have it.
There's two left over that I don't think the board addressed.
Yeah. Yeah, prohibition of sale of blunt wraps and is that cigar
I don't
sales?
think anybody's split it up before. They've moved everything. They've either left it like it was in the chart or they've moved everything over.
No, from the other thing is- It does, it makes a difference. in
Because we
how
have
much-
money
how much
is
of
the
it-
issue.
And I don't think that this one is egregious. And I think that
Okay,
you're talking about a unified fine versus our separating out our own policies from the state and saying,
Right.
we have to go with the state fines. But for the local, do we want to keep what we have already set, or do we want to move them all over into the states?
Or split it if you want to. Nobody's
Right,
done it
right.
before, but you could.
I mean,
Which is what we already have been doing.
if there are local regulations and it's, you know, something that's we think is really significant,
Right,
that it should have the higher,
right. I agree.
so that I hate to call it goes to the state side. I mean, it somehow we need to, I think it's the violations need to have two columns, maybe one is what they are, the higher one, one's the lower one.
Right.
Is that one way to simplify it?
Well, I think we need to specify if it's required by the state, because that makes it pretty clear to anyone reading the regulation that it doesn't have to do with us per se,
Right.
because they're required by the state. I'd rather,
Are there local ones that you feel should be fined a higher amount?
yes, the blunt wraps
Right,
and-
whatever they are.
and operating without a permit.
Right, so how should we handle
I've got
those?
quite a few of them circled here.
Okay,
Got, I didn't have the blunt wraps circled, but I've got
Yep.
ban on smoking bars. I mean, if somebody opened a smoking bar and your inspectors tripped over it. Cigar sales regulated, they charge less than $2.50 for the cigar. Tobacco product sales in a healthcare institution, tobacco product sales in an education institution. Non-residential roll your own machine, display of Mass Department of Revenue permit. Not having a local tobacco sales permit. And your retailer density minimums.
okay, I make a suggestion, Jay, we deal with this at the next meeting. I mean, to make these columns, you want to do this now? I don't know, it just seems. We want to go down the list and say what side or the
Yes.
amount the fine should be. You want to
Yes.
go down the list right now?
Yes, yes, let's
Do it, okay?
deal with this. We
There-
just taking so long.
I honestly think there's some things in this on the right-hand side that will just never happen.
Right.
Some of it
Yeah.
would just never happen.
And so you just put them over there with the state refines then? I think we're still going to end up with two columns.
It warns people, if you
Yes.
do this.
Right, okay. I see what you're saying.
It's up, but it's up
But I
to
still
you.
think there's some things here that, like the,
Are there far fewer that would be at the lower
yes,
fine? So
Yes.
let's stay with those, what they are. And the
Okay.
rest are gonna be
Okay.
fined at a higher rate. Do they need to, what happens when the fine is higher, it's a local regulation and it's not a state one?
well, you just
How-
put it.
What do you think?
You just have policy subject to state law fines. And then you could just say, those listed below are subject to state law fines, but they
Right.
are Yarmouth only policies, or however the legal language
So
would be.
it's still in the left column,
Right.
but state and then local, and the right column obviously is gonna be only local.
Right.
And those are fined at the lower
Policy
rate.
subject to local regulation.
Okay, so what would be helpful for you, I think, is you know what we want in the right column.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll agree with whatever you want in the right column. Someone, want to go down the list?
Yeah, the
Say left-
prohibition of the sale of blunt wraps.
Higher or lower? Put it that way.
Higher or lower?
Make it simple. Let's go. First item.
I do all the talking here.
Well, you're the paperwork.
I'm fine doing this.
Okay.
Can I request like a one minute recess?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh,
The rest of
absolutely.
Seriously, I apologize.
That's it.
Thinking while you're gone.
Okay, so that's at 7:17, okay? right? That's what we have to do, and then more on the
Well,
back.
And she's saying to put the ones in that are so unlikely over to here,
Okay,
which, so let's just say the only ones that would be in there would,
we should stay.
yeah,
Here,
which one
fine,
should
okay.
stay here?
So,
Jay, I don't know how much longer this is going on, but it's almost 2 hours and I got animals to take care of.
Well, this is your obligation, Charlie. And unfortunately,
Yeah.
we've had some short meetings, but lately we've had some long ones.
We all have busy schedules.
Yeah.
We won't be back for a few more years.
I just want, is Eric okay? I don't know.
But some retailers willing to stick with us here. I appreciate your being here.
I appreciate the opportunity to hear what the retailers have
I
to
know,
say.
it's
and-
very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't, work, so it's not something that affects me personally.
yes, sometimes. She maybe something went down the wrong pipe or something.
She swallowed wrong, I think.
Oh.
You done? Which way? Fine.
Display of master. Oh, yeah, we talked about that. Yeah. Yep, we'll bring that up and you want to also talk also. I will bring it up. Yep,
No, Eric's not. I shouldn't.
good reminder.
No, I was concerned with Eric.
Oh, Erica, I didn't know where she worked here. Okay, I would keep this one in,
Okay,
and then I would keep this one in,
that's it.
and then everything else I'll move over. This one's not likely to happen either. This one, they said, the retailer said last time, they didn't even have this.
Right.
This one, I think, is egregious and should be over here, and so,
Unless we have,
well,
if
I
they
don't-
did,
I
that would
don't-
be,
it would be over there,
yeah, for
right?
sure.
but I
So
don't
We only
know.
have two.
That's what I would say.
Fine, okay. Just
Right
wait
here,
for Eric. to
here's
come
the-
back.
there's-
What?
But then there's,
Hmm?
she said,
Oh, Erica.
yeah, Erica,
sorry.
I know, I thought it was- Okay,
No, it's different.
okay, so what?
One has a
Only
day.
one letter.
It's close.
Well, a lot more different. than
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's more complicated, you're right.
So we decided together, we agreed rather, that this would stay.
Right.
This one, the
Mhm.
cigar one would stay with the lower front. And stay with the display of the revenue license.
When you say lower.
Yeah, it would
Local.
keep in this local fine.
Mhm.
column, and that's it. Everything else would move over because
The
it's
cigars and. What's the other one?
cigar sales and the
Display.
display of the revenue license. Everything else would move over. It's
Sure.
egregious enough that it's not.
Eric, we want to start again? Okay, so we're back up at 7:20, okay?
You know, as you go through the chair to the board, as you go through the list, and I know you are going to deliberate on each of these.
We're done already, just so you know.
But okay, but there's just one I'd like to bring to your attention. I did meet, Barry and I did meet this week with some of the retailers and they were concerned with the going down about 3/4 of the way down as display of Mass Department revenue licenses. They said they have very limited amount of space to actually put those at. Just as you start to consider this, just be aware.
Right.
The retailers had some concern as to how much room they actually have to put all the signs up and all of the licenses. So as you start to move them into different categories of fining and things of that nature, and they may want to speak to it also, but they're very limited in space.
We left it in the lower fine category.
It
We only
may-
left two in the lower.
Oh,
fine.
okay, well,
Yeah,
your deliberation,
we're
but you may want to hear that, or they want to speak to it.
But it sounds like they don't have room, and they're gonna get fined every time someone notices that the permit's not.
I think there's a difference between it not being displayed and it not being on site. And a
Okay.
lot of times when inspectors go in and they say, I need to see your local Board of Health permit. I need to see your state licenses.
Okay.
They're told, I've got them, but I don't have them here.
You know, if I could, Mr. Chairman, the retail took the time to come in this past week. I'd like just, if he could maybe just explain.
Sure, if you would.
Evening again, and when we went and meet Jay, what we say is like all the licenses, all the permits, or all the warnings are practically like 8x11. And if we display every single thing on the wall probably not enough on the, because it has to be right above the cigarette fixture. So that probably not possible. So is any way we can condense the size or condense something so we can display all at once, or we can keep it all at once at the location and not to be displayed, or, you know, either or. We can display the smaller size.
Well, the Mass Department of Revenue license, displaying that is our own regulation, town regulation, right?
It's a local policy.
Okay,
You could just, instead of
have it-
saying display, you could say have Massachusetts license available for inspection.
Right.
that would be okay with me.
I'm fine with that also.
His staff needs to know there's the notebook that has
Right,
all the permits and licenses in it.
Right, so we kept like a book that
Yeah.
every single license
Right.
and the warning signs and everything in there.
Right, well, not the warning signs.
The
We're just
signs all
talking,
have to be posted
Yeah.
by state law.
yeah, we're just talking about the Massachusetts Department of Revenue license.
Right,
Because we had a fine if you didn't have that displayed, and we're discussing not even requiring it to be displayed, but to be available. And there'd be no fine if you didn't have it displayed.
so it must displayed, is that what we're getting, or we can be have on the side?
That's what we're saying. We're saying, right, the three of us, and we would be willing to have you just have it available and not requiring that particular thing be displayed. But as Sarah said, those other warnings and all have to be displayed. They're
Right.
their state.
But that, the Sarah, can we?
You okay with that,
reduce the
Charlie? If we
size of it?
tell- If we do not require that their Mass Department of Revenue license be
The
displayed.
state requires them to have certain
Signs.
signs up, yeah. Other than that, if you got everything in a folder or whatever, you can go to,
Okay,
you know.
okay,
it's,
so we'll change that.
just like running all the tractor trailers I ran for Christmas tree for years. Everything was in one book.
Right.
So when the Fed showed up and asked any questions, I just opened the book, they go for the gold.
Yep.
Everything's right there in front of you.
Well, I make a move that we take that from our policy that the Mass Department of Revenue license has to be displayed, but it does have to be available upon request.
Second.
Okay, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, fine. Okay,
We're gonna leave that on the local side.
It's not even going to be on the local side because we're not saying there's any fine. It's not required.
So no fine.
Right.
Well, what if they don't have it available for inspection?
All right, then we'll say availability of Mass Department of Revenue license.
and that stays in the right column.
Okay.
Good.
Can I mention one thing? All the state licenses are renewed by our legal department or
They're renewed by the Department of Revenue.
right, so no, we do the local permits renew all the time, but the state permits, it gets, but for 2 years.
Yeah.
And it does by the accountant or the legal department, our legal department. So we are on top of it. So I'm just telling you, we are top on that, but if, God forbid, if something happened and if we don't have it, does he has to be fined or slap on the wrist and says, get it or not get it or something like that?
Well, you're the permit holder, so you're responsible for having it. The state renews them on the even years, like, 2022, 2024, 2026 in September of the even years. So you know when they're coming due, you know when they're gonna be renewed. You should have your accountant or whoever apply for it ahead of time
I do it, yeah.
to make sure that it's
do it.
not in. Sometimes the state has run very far behind in issuing the licenses. And when that happens, we're notified. So if you can show that you've applied for the license, applied
Doesn't-
for a new license, then, screenshot or something of your application to the DOR, then that's fine. But
Well, the-
otherwise, we have no way of knowing whether you've got a license or not. And so what an inspector would probably tell you is you need to stop selling tobacco products until you can show the Board of Health that you have that license. So if you haven't applied for the license, then you need to go online right away, because you can apply for it online right away and do that. But we don't have any way of knowing that you've got the license unless you've got it, either the license itself or some documentation to show that you've applied for it
Right,
in hand.
Okay. Yeah, that's valid.
But apply early.
No, we do.
Yeah. Good.
Even so many times I come here in the health department and say, hey, where's my permit application? Sometimes, it got delayed for any reason, but I'm on the top and come here and say, do we have the permit? Do we have the permit? One time I did fill out the 21 application and I came here and handed the applications, no, that's not the right application, has to be 22. I said, okay. So,
Wow.
so it's just a question like, we are here to discuss, so we like to discuss everything we can,
Yep.
and we can get the answer to anything we can, in other words.
If you get inspected 3 times and you don't have DOR permit each time, you're gonna get fined.
That's exactly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. If somebody has to be, if 3 times is not charm on that case.
I'm only using 3 as an example, but yeah, the first time they should give you the opportunity to be able to prove that you've got the license and you've misplaced it or your employee didn't know where it was.
I think the board heard your concern about availability of space and they're gonna make some accommodations. Yeah.
Thank you.
We done with the column?
I think so.
Okay, so we mentioned the ones that are staying in the right column, right? There are only 2.
Right.
I've only got the DOR license available for inspection, stays in the right column. And what else?
Cigar sales regulated.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Cigar sales regulated.
Cigar
including
sales
minimum
regulated
price regulations.
is gonna stay, okay. Transfer of permit and sale of business.
Those are the only 2.
Those are the only 2. Everything else is moving.
The left column, yes.
Excellent. And you want to stick with, as far as any violations of those 2 that are staying, you've got 300 on the first, 400 on the second within 36 months, along with a 7-day permit suspension and, 500 on the third within 36 months of the first, along with a 30-day permit suspension.
All the
Keeping all
time.
that?
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
yes.
Yep.
That's
Right,
fine.
just as long as you know that the only one you can use non-criminal disposition for is the $300 fine. Anything, the state says anything above $300, you can't use a non-criminal ticket for, you have to issue a cease and desist order, which is the same as the state fines. You have to issue cease and desist for those also.
Jay, do you understand that?
I don't.
Yeah, and when you say when you say a cease and desist,
We've got one, we haven't sent that to you? Oh. You haven't, have you issued fines in this under the,
Oh. we clearly have issued fines.
how have you done it?
What we've done is a letter gets sent to the retailer and then the retailer comes in front of the board and a decision is made. When you say a cease and desist, maybe you're putting a formal name to our process.
It's a formal.
We have that.
form.
We have that form. We don't call it a cease and desist.
Okay,
The board doesn't
But
call it.
send that anyway.
I'm gonna send it anyway in case we're not talking about the same thing.
We have,
This is something that Cheryl Sabara has written up, and it specifically says when a permit suspension is required, that, you know, you're also gonna have a permit suspension, and
The-
I'll send it to you, and if there, you know, if it's the same as what you've got,
The-
fine. Otherwise, there may be some things on there that
This-
you want to steal from it.
I'm glad to look it over. There's been a form letter here for some time, so
Yeah,
it
okay.
may fit the profile of cease and desist.
You know, so as long as you know that if you issue 21D tickets at all, nothing over $300.
Thank you.
Okay, I hate to, oh, no. I thought that was it, but two other little things, I think. Or maybe even just one. No, one other little thing. Section U, which is gonna be on
Page
your
12.
page 12, down near the bottom, separate violations. There was an indication on what was sent to me that you wanted to omit that, which you can't, it's state law.
Oh.
Okay. And we're done. And I appreciate your patience. This
Thank
is
you for your
not-
patience.
not a fun process
It's an
sometimes.
easy process, I know,
Okay, thank you.
as Erica will agree. You didn't make this an easy process.
Well, a nightmare. All
Thank you,
right.
Sarah.
Sarah, thank you. So,
Oh. Okay, that's
Sarah,
even more controversial.
Sarah, just for continuity here, because I'm assuming on the 16th is the board's next meeting. In between now and the 16th of October, I'm assuming Bob will be back by then, or is he still on?
Comes back on the 6th, I believe.
So he would be the next, you're gonna bring all the information that you learned tonight over to Bob, so that we're not working on another sheet music. Everything that got done tonight, he will get with the edits and then back to us.
He's been CC'd on a lot of this all
Terrific.
along. and
That's
he's
great.
probably
Okay, good. So,
Shaking his head. There were some things that I was gonna check with Cheryl Sabara on.
Yep.
I'm gonna get those answers to you probably before Bob comes back or within the next couple days. And then I'll send you a clean copy.
Yep.
And with no highlights. Ready to roll, and Bob will be CC'd on that.
I am excited about that.
Okay,
We're
and the
looking forward.
16th is your next.
All right, 16th, that's the third.
Excellent.
So thanks, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Mr. Chairman, just before that 16th. This draft, when I get this back from the state, that'll go up on our website. And then we'll go out to, because this was a working session, although the meeting was posted, we didn't go out to all the 29 and tell retail establishments
Right.
and let them know. You folks, the board was working amongst this. Now with the next meeting, we will notify them in writing and in person that a meeting of the 16th, because that would then become a public hearing and potentially a vote.
Yes.
Although you may use that as a working session and make other edits, but there's a chance a vote could be taken on the 16th.
Yes.
Okay.
For sure.
Do a legal notice.
That's, thank you on that.
Okay,
Sure.
thank you.
But we did say we would look at these three letters.
So these three letters,
Two of them are on the same issue, and
Yes,
then the
they
third
are.
is a different issue.
right, so these individuals will be notified that there is a meeting coming up on the 16th. They'll hear about that. So they would invite them in. But you have these letters.
Yeah.
Okay,
We'll do our homework.
okay. Okay.
Hey.
Thank you very much.
Coming in.
Thanks for coming in. It's helpful. So for the old copies, that you can use them for origami. Now, let's, a lot of paperwork.
Shred them, please.
Please.
Send them around.
Okay.
What page are we on?
Okay, we're up to number 3 here on the agenda. It's an update on the migrant family relocation. So our health director is gonna bring us up to date.
I will. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if you were able to watch the selectmen's meeting, the town administrator and myself, we provided fully some clarifying information as to where the migrant relocation at the Harbor Suites, where that stands. That was last Tuesday. Nothing has changed since, in that we have 78 individuals and 22 families are residing. The overwhelming concern for although there are state issues and actually some federal issues involved, but the local issue is really about concern was about immunizations and very much around schools. I would like to read some information. I gave you some information that's up on the town website regarding vaccinations. This is posted on our website, but I did receive an email today from the superintendent and Mark Smith, and I would like to just read a few comments, and I think it's going to be helpful in clarifying for the board and also for the community members that are perhaps listening. And this is from Mark Smith today, actually. The term this is about vaccinations. The term requirements has always been a bit of a misnomer. Schools have never been able to hold students out of school for vaccinations. Right, that's misunderstood. There's a thinking that you have to have vaccinations to go to school. So that is from the superintendent. Our nurses work all year round with families after enrollment to get their children compliant with the state requirements. But historically, we hover somewhere around 90% compliant each year, ensuring students have all the required immunizations. So that's a good understanding for the board, and maybe you knew that, but for the community to understand. I'd like to just continue. In supporting the families at the Harborside Suites in becoming compliant with vaccination requirements, our nursing staff also has the aid of the Executive Office of Health and Human Services from the Department of Public Health. Through a conversation with the National Guardsmen at the hotel, I've learned that DPH has a 4-phase plan of support to the health and wellness needs of the families at the shelter. The attached memo, and that's what's referenced here. The board has that in front of them, and this is also on the website, and it steps through what the vaccination process and who will be doing that. There's one closing paragraph I'd like to just read. Actually, there's the 2. I'll correct myself. As of October 2nd, 23, there are 2,921 students enrolled in the Dennis Yarmouth Regional School. Of those students, 160 students are considered immigrants under the federal definition. This number includes 25 students living at the Harbor Suites Hotel. The federal definition utilized for state reporting is that the child was not previously enrolled in the U.S. school for more than 3 full academic years. After 3 years within the U.S. school, a migrant student's designation as an immigrant is removed for federal and state data reporting service. Okay, good information to know. And then in closing, finally, we do not have any specific health concerns regarding the families living at the Harborside Suite, separate from those we do with any other families living in a challenging circumstance. There is nothing specific to the migrant relocation we talked about, and there's been a lot of concern, communicable disease and what have you. There is nothing within the schools. Okay. Our nurses do a fabulous job providing individuals with treatment to children every day and working with the families to both child needs and to connect them with the resources beyond the school district that can support them on their ongoing medical needs. This will continue. As I have noted in previous communications to the school district, supporting migrant families is not new to DY. We have a strong infrastructure in place, and we see migrant families as an integral part of who we are as a DY community. And that's from the superintendent of schools.
Excellent.
Great.
Okay. That's the update.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, we had the nurse come in actually. And it's a lot of work to try to deal with the vaccinations of the students. It's
Sure.
complicated and it's full-time. It's
There is a process in place, but the misnomer is that you don't get to go to school until you're vaccinated. 90% is religious exemptions. There's a whole number of things that can prevent that. Mary, you know this from your profession. Doctor, you know this as well.
90% is very good.
90% is very good compliant, and I hope this, the community understands that, because there's been a lot of concern, fear, right? Misunderstanding.
Fear.
The people don't know communicable disease. TB has been put about a lot in the community. And this was to, I guess I'd put this in the term of immunizing the community with good information.
Right.
That's what I have.
And it got more difficult during the pandemic. Kids weren't going to the pediatricians and so on. So it got a lot
Everybody was
more
affected.
challenging
Yep.
because of it. Okay, so is that the update?
That's the update.
Okay, so the update on coronavirus and the positivity rate, that's number 4.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that'd be me.
Great.
Right now, Town of Yarmouth is currently at 2025 positive rate, which is below the county rate and below the state rate. It's kind of been pretty much steady along with the state, what's going on right now. Still currently, we are getting a lot of questions at the health department if we are supplying COVID test kits. We are not, I don't know if anyone who is, you can purchase those at any of the CVS, Walgreens, other retailers like that.
Also go online and get them 4 tests for free from
Yep.
the government.
That's my next point. Yep.
Sorry.
Yep. You can go online and get 4 tests per family. They do take a little bit to get to you, but if you need them right away, I would go to the
Pharmacy.
retail store. The town of Yarmouth, Human Resources did put out guidelines, what we're doing for the COVID ticks right now. We are following, the town of Yarmouth is following all state regulations, not stricter, not less. So we're following state mandates with those. So we just tell everybody, keep safe,
Right.
sanitize, do what you got to do.
There's the,
A few more people with masks on too. out
Yep.
there.
If you want to wear a mask, wear a
the
mask.
windows are coming down. Yeah.
We are turning into the cooler seasons where more people will be inside and stuff like that. So
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you.
This was predictable, right? We saw this, and I can tell you within the town hall here, we do see more masks. And anecdotally, the number there are either spouses or family members, we're just hearing without tracking this, but anecdotally, the numbers are, the positivity rates are going up.
Okay, there's an update in the flu shot clinic. We all had a sheet in our packet.
that would be me, Mr. Chairman. Again, we are all set. We are taking reservations as of right now. I talked to our VNA. We have 17 people signed up. We still have 183 spots. So a total of 200 spots will be available. Flyers are on our website. Flyers are at Senior Center. I did speak with the deputy fire chief. We do have 4 of the information boards in town that we can utilize to promote this also. If there's other things that they need them for, it might be down to 3 or 2, but we can utilize the information boards to put them around town at busy intersections to promote this. So highly recommend making an appointment and come on down.
Great. Okay. New and old business, other than the next meeting on October 16th. Anything else from anyone?
I'm all set.
No, nothing? Okay. Number 7,
Move that we adjourn.
your second to that? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.